So I've discovered this young chap, Jay Shapiro, and he's on Bet Beat Media, BETTBEAT Media, on YouTube, and it's marvelous. He's marvelous. The discussion is marvelous. I've been to Bet and Beat Media before, and Jay's Jewish, and he describes the fallouts he's had, with family and with his mother over what's happening in Gaza, in Palestine, and and I know what he's talking about, and I'm sure that for him it's even much more vivid and blood curdling because he's coming from a Jewish family. He talked about, which I have spoken about, the consistency of the Hamas thing in the world and how often it occurs. And what he didn't do, which surprised me, because he's about as astute and as aware a chap as I've encountered, with the possible exception of Finkelstein, and much older people. He's a young man, 40 maybe, he said, looks younger. But he says this thing, and he says, as if that's in a vacuum, that Hamas has happened. It's Sakari, it's Iceni, my list is boring now because it's pretty endless. And it's interesting that other people will bring this up nowadays. It's taken 2 years and probably 100,000 dead people. But there's never mentioned in the same breath the reason why. And my rather belligerent and haphazard study of history, which I don't study just as a habit or as a fetish or as an interest. I study it because I'm trying to work out what we're up to right now. And by saying, that there are repeated Hamases, he ignores the fact, as far as I got with it, he ignores the fact that there are repeated apartheids. And generally Hamases occur because of apartheid. It's not the other way around. It is not the other way around. We know that from history. If you go and you invade somebody's country and you colonize it, or you occupy it, you don't need to colonize it, just occupy it and extract whatever you're trying to extract from your occupation. Go ahead and occupy it. And historically, the behavior of occupation, the act of occupation, is pretty consistent across the board, no matter who's doing it, is horrible for the original inhabitants or the people who are occupied. And over the years, over the centuries, the millennia, no doubt, those who are occupied strike back. They're occupied by a superior military force, and they strike back with the means at hand. They throw stones, they fire, rockets, they do whatever they have against massively superior force. That's just what it is. And the discussion or the arguments that are going on about Gaza right now, which are really fascinating to watch, especially in the West, is you've got a consortium, you've got a collection of occupiers. All the European countries were occupiers of other parts of the world a couple of centuries ago, beginning, let's say, randomly 1492. They were occupiers, and they have basically defined themselves as that, the colonial powers of Great Britain, France, Portugal, Spain, That's how they've defined themselves. That's the basis of their position. The number one, they are the rich nations of the world. They are the G8s and all the rest of it. Those are usually colonial powers. So they become first world, or as Bernie says, the important countries. Scandinavia, I suppose, is off the list because they don't appear to have done that kind of thing, but the rest of them have, by and large. Germany left it a little late. There's even a rather morbid joke that, in fact, they one of the reasons they were so het up after the First World War is that they had missed out on the great colonial wealth of their other European countries. Fellows. Maybe because some of us exist with the comforts and the values that being a colonist or an occupier have given us. Maybe because of that, we have decided that that's the moral way of life. That's where civilizations come from, and that's true by and large. Civilizations explode out of conquest. Cyrus the Great conquered the Persian Empire. To speak of an early one, Alexander conquered the Greek Empire. The Romans conquered the empire and all the rest of it, and then they occupied. So I'm not really, I'm confused by very, very intelligent people not seeing that. And I have to think that they don't see that because they have a need. And that need seems to be that they need to believe that their civilization is moral, is good. I guess they need to get up in the morning and believe that they are good. So you have a lot of people in the public eye giving that sermon. And naturally, if you're doing that with what you have, if the European is doing that, they have to decide that the IRA is an evil entity. And even though in the great long history of freedom fighters or resistors or terrorists, I don't really mind. I'm perfectly happy to say they do commit acts of terror. But they're dwarfed compared to the atrocities of the occupier. In every case, you look it up. Body counts, acts of brutality. It's heavily, the weight is heavily on the occupier, on the colonist. And that's just where we are. And where we're stuck. In other words, so if I have a discussion or an argument with people, I have found, especially recently, that those people who have in their makeup, in their creation, this need of this opposition, of this unforgivable enemy, it's impenetrable. And those without that need are not wise, they're not better looking, they're not better people, they're just lucky that they don't have that fixation contained in religions.